All right, there we go. So, there's certain things in yoga that give us a sense of cooling when the hot days start coming. So, I think I've talked about this before, but that if you kind of categorize types of poses like forward bends and back bends and twists and inversions and restoratives and things like that, if you kind of categorize, of course we want to do a little bit of everything all the time, but there's seasonal aspects of our yoga practice too. And when summer arises, our energy should be rising with the sun too. So right around this time of the zenith of the sun, if we were living in full accord with natural rhythms, which of course, we've tossed all the natural rhythms to the side and created our own rhythms much of the time, which is kind of amazing, right? That we have the ability to do that. But if we were kind of working within the rhythms, the standing poses are kind of the aspects of the summer. This sense of, I don't know, like a sense of moving, is really good. But there's a counter to that. So on very hot days, it's really important to make sure that your practice is also a cooling practice, a soothing practice. So to balance the heat and the essence of summer, where the energy is growing and moving, to also take care of ourselves when we might be feeling dehydrated or a little overwhelmed by heat. So the first thing you can do, just a quick little thing to pull out of your toolbox when you are hot, is to do Satali breathing. So if you can't curl your tongue, you can do this through pursed lips, because it's a genetic thing whether you can curl your tongue or not. So doing it through pursed lips is the next best thing. So unlike almost every aspect of pranayama, we're going to be breathing in through our mouth. Now, the challenge of Satali is that your mouth tends to get dry when you breathe through your mouth. So if you have water, take a sip of water, so that you can stay hydrated. But we won't do this for very long. But I think most of you have done this with me before. But it's a very cooling breath. You might feel, if you really pay attention, you might feel that the coolness enters all the way into your lungs. And if you sense that, if you sense the cooling, try to imagine that you're giving yourself a little bit of an ice bath, or a cool bath, cool water bath, like slipping into a stream in the mountains when you've been on a hot, sunny, long hike. That beautiful feeling of like, even just putting your feet in the water or your hands in the water. Hopefully, Satali will kind of give you just a little sense of that. So you breathe in through your mouth, and you can close your mouth to relax and breathe out through your nose, or you can breathe out through your mouth as well. So very simply, you're going to curl your tongue and you're going to breathe in through the curl of your tongue. So it becomes like a little wind tunnel, which cools down the air and sends cooler air down into your lungs. Okay, so take a moment to find your comfortable seat and just think of Scotland. Oh, sorry, Ruth. I can't read the whole message, but she's in Scotland, which I can't access the message right now, but I bet it's not going to be 100 degrees tomorrow in Scotland. So, all right. So when you feel comfortable and have a sense of stability and ease in your body, let's relax the shoulders and feel a sense of ease across your face, across your skull. Just come home into your practice here. This is our kind of setting a seal around our practice, where when we begin, we can let all the things that are coming later kind of fall away, be here now. So first, just get to know your breath. How are you breathing this morning? Are you feeling steady or not so steady? Are you tired? Are you energized? Are you scattered? Are you present? What is the general energy of your body and mind, and how does that show itself in the breath? Again, never having judgments about what you're finding when you look, but to just explore and get to know yourself. And now to do this Satali breath, you're just going to very simply curl your tongue if you can, purse lips if you can, and breathe a nice, slow, long inhale. And when it's time for your exhale, just relax your mouth, relax your tongue, and breathe out. You can take a normal breath in between, or you can keep doing Satali breathing. Now, while you do this, when you feel that inhale coming in through your rolled tongue, try to expand the coolness. Let it stretch out into your whole being, up into your head and into your lungs and around through your body as best as you can. And I usually find that doing about 5 of those breaths is enough to calm me and cool me. But of course, you can take breaks, do more, you can do less, whatever you feel is working for you. Remember that you always have this in your toolbox. It's such a simple thing. You can do this when you're, hiking. You can do this when you're on a hot bus ride. You can do this anytime that you feel a little overheated in your body. Satali breath can be a real gift to you. And so simple. I hope you're all able to curl your tongues. And if not, I hope that the purse lips was just as effective. So if you're still working with it, maybe let's do one more. And then when you are done, grab your water and take a sip before we begin our asana practice. Your palms together at your heart. Imagine that the cool air you just breathed in is kind of just seeping through your cells. Let's take a moment to sense into an intention. What are you cultivating? What do you need today to help you through your day? Relax your hands. All right, and let's find our way coming onto our back. So as you find your way onto your mat, take a moment to just enjoy the sense of reaching outward through your crown and your tail. So you just enjoy getting a little bit longer in your body. And then when you're ready, you can reach your arms overhead and feel into some good length in your shoulders too. Reach the left side, reach the right side, and just coming home into that beautiful opening. Bring your knees into your chest and rock a little bit, sway a little bit. And now this Satali breath can happen, anytime. You don't have to just be sitting to do it. You can do it when you're walking and when you're doing yoga or whenever you're, needing a little cool down. So now if you're comfy, just breathe normally. But if you're still getting hot, you can always pause the normal breath and do a little Satali along the journey. Not that I'm planning on getting us super hot, but just know, if maybe your house is hot, let's circle the other way. Let's open up the knees and bring them away from the center and back in. Just kind of feel into the back body. How are you doing back there? How's your low back and your sacrum feeling today?
Right, right knee into your chest, left leg on the ground, roll around in your ankles and let your feet free up. Notice your head, let it get heavier. Relax your shoulders. And let's switch sides. Left knee in, right leg long on the ground, and feel that movement. Continuing in your ankles and your feet. Wiggle your toes. Doesn't it feel so good to just enliven your feet a little bit? Give a good squeeze to your knee, and then stretch like a star, feeling that openness in your body, reaching outward. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. And then exhale and draw in, knees into your chest, head comes up. Twice more, opening big and wide to a star. Exhale, drawing in, head comes up too. One more time. Big full breath in. Exhale, full breath out. All right, let's put our head down onto the ground. Grab your strap if you have one. And I didn't follow my own yoga etiquette. You know, it's always good to, whatever you're doing with the strap, to return it back to its open state so it's ready for next time. Let's go ahead and wrap the right foot in the strap. So as you come into Supta Padangusthasana, this pose, I won't teach this, but I want to mention it. I'm not teaching it because I don't think everybody's got two straps. But if you happen to have two straps and you're really trying to work with opening the hip joint or the SI joint, if you take one strap over your right thigh and make it into a big loop so that it can go down around your left foot, and that left foot pressure of pulling on the strap can create some traction on your femur bone and move it back. So it's a nice way of doing this pose if you happen to have two straps and you need a little opening in your hip. But for today, we're just going to use our hand. So we're going to hold on to the strap with our left hand, and then we're going to take our right hand and try to get into that, nook of where your femur bone is right, right at the head of your femur bone, and just as high up as you can go on that femur bone, press away. Now, oftentimes this makes us hyperextend our knee. So be mindful to have a little micro bend in your knee, and hang on to your right foot with that strap so that you're not letting the leg fall away, even though we're pressing in the femur bone. Long spine, reach your crown, reach your tail. And then release that right hand, two hands back onto the strap. Have a moment of flexing and pointing your foot up there in the air. I'm getting a little mini inversion with one leg. Another thing that can happen for some people in heat is lymph can get a little sluggish and slow. So, getting those joint movements can be very helpful. All right, and the inversion can be very helpful. Let's open your right leg out to the right, feeling that expansiveness through the inner groin, the inner hamstring, staying rooted and grounded to the left side of your body. Stretch through your foot. So be kind of active in this pose. And even though we're not going to put our hand on the head of the femur bone, can you move the head of the femur bone away from your head and roll it? Feel that external rotation. And inhale, reach that leg back up in the air. We're going to take the strap into the left hand. Take your right hand into the hip crease again. Press away. It's a very gentle press. You don't have to give it everything you got. Remember to have a micro bend in the knee so we're not hyperextending the knee. And cross the right leg over to the left. Feel the heaviness of your head. Move the weight of your hand into that femur bone. Try to find the little teeny bit of an inner spiral of your femur bone. When we had our leg out to the side, we were externally rotating. Now a slight internal rotation. Stretch through your foot in the air. Feel the crown grow. All right, come back. Take a moment to lower your leg down to the ground and just feel the difference between your two sides. I'm always amazed, even after years of doing this, how proprioception and interoception can shift so quickly by just activating our body. So notice if your right leg is an inch or two longer than your left and you're sensing. All right, and then draw your left knee into the chest. And I forgot to mention on the other side, but always, you don't have to have the opposite leg straight. So as we take the strap now into our left foot, around our left foot, your right leg can either be straight on the ground or your right leg can be bent. There's no rule. You want to sense what's best for your back and your pelvis. So try both. You know, put your right foot on the ground and just sense in, how does my back and pelvis feel? And then, oh, sorry, Lena, I can't straighten my legs. My cat's there. But if you straighten your leg, just sense what's there. You know, can you feel any change in your pelvis that's a good thing or a bad thing? You know, just sense where you feel better. All right, reach your left foot up into the air, drop your left femur bone down toward the ground so you get that fullness of your body. And then when you're ready, take your left hand on the hip and your right hand in the strap. A little bit of a pressure of moving that left femur bone away. Be mindful of your knee, not hyperextending. Even though you're holding the strap awkwardly because you have to cross, see if you can melt the shoulders. Let this be not a pushing and a pulling and a prodding, but a melting. Can you let the hand kind of sink into the femur bone? Is there a release anywhere in your low back or in your SI joint? When you're ready, release that. Take the strap into your left hand. Open up to the left. Keep your right side body anchored. So if your knee is bent, you can keep it there. You can also open up the right knee out to the right to help you cantilever the weight of your left leg. Whatever feels good, however you're able to stabilize your body so you're not just tipping your whole body over to the left. Stretch through your foot. See if you can feel that external rotation in the femur bone. You might even try to tip your heel up toward the sky and your toes toward the ground. Unlock your knee if you're hyperextended. Feel your breath. I think this pose is a really good pose to add to your repertoire. Go ahead and lift that leg straight back up. It's so simple, yet very, I wouldn't say complex, but there's a lot going on. And it's nice because you're on your back. So it's a gentle way if you're feeling hot or just not energized enough for a deep moving practice. This is a great way to just get into the deep places. All right, so as we cross our left leg over, internally rotate your left thigh, stretch through your left foot. Maybe the heel of your left hand can press against that femur bone again. Oftentimes when you press against the femur bone, your body wants to externally rotate, so counter that with a little bit of internal rotation. Sometimes it helps me if I feel my heel stretching. That can kind of give me a basis point to internally rotate from. So you do you, however you sense into it. Let your head get heavy. And then lift that leg back up. Take your right foot up into the strap with the left. 2 legs here. Let's have a flex and point of your feet in the air. You just have that movement of all that lymph and blood flow in your feet. See if you can feel that kind of zing up your calf, stretching the fronts of your feet too. And then some stillness. As you feel the weight of the strap on the feet, transfer that weight all the way into the femur bones. Drop them into the earth. Feel the crown grow a little longer. Relax the strap. Take it away and go ahead and put your feet on the ground. And just feel that neutral spine again. Let's windshield wiper our knees. Just letting a twist start to happen in the body. We're going to go a little deeper into this twist in a moment. And then lift your hips over to the right, drop your knees left, and let's open up through the shoulder now a little bit. So As you inhale, turn your head right, slide your arm up overhead. And as you exhale, turn your head left and slide your hand back down. Just going back and forth, kind of like a one-armed snow angel, moving your head so that you just get that range of motion into your body and let your body breathe. And then come back to center, shift your hips the other way, drop your knees over to the right, find your head turning in your arm movements, syncing up, turning your head toward your arm as you lift it over your head, turn your head away from your arm as you slide your hand back down. Letting yourself just breathe here. All right, and then stretching out one more time to a big star. Exhale, knees into your chest. Let's roll to our side and come up to our hands and knees. So now we get to start moving. Of course, my kitty cat's sitting down right on my mat, so it's always nice when you have a furry friend to join you in your yoga practice. All right, so let's start to move some cat-cows, inching your spine into some mobility. Arching your back, rounding your spine, taking your time to move. It doesn't feel good, you know, we've already opened our legs and our hips a little bit, but now we get to really sense into that range of motion in the spine. Breathing well as you go. And feeling free to move your back in any way you want to. You can circle through your pelvis or sway your hips. Move around any way you want to move around. And then finding a child's pose when you're ready. Walking the hands out in front of you, feeling that deep sink of the hips down toward the heels. Be very mindful of how far that needs to go depending on your back and your knees. Walk the hands over to one side or the other so your body gets to stretch and lengthen. The other way, feeling that reach and length through the other side, feeling the drop of your pelvis. And notice if you know you were stiff or sore or tired or cranky when you started your practice. Notice if things are shifting. Come back up on tall fours, curl your toes under, back towards child's pose. Open up the bottom of your feet in whatever way you can, so you don't have to go all the way back. Then slide back up. Give your feet a little bit of a smack. And then let's give a good twist here. Reaching your arm up in the air, slide that shoulder down, twisting to the side. As you come here, notice the breath. So, you know, you don't have to do a Satali breath or anything, but just sense in. Where is my body changing when I breathe in? Where is sensation changing when I breathe out? Inhale, reach that arm back up in the air. Hand comes down onto the ground. Let's change sides. I'm lifting. Exhale, slide that arm underneath. Gaze toward the ground so your eyes are relaxed. Notice the changing shapes on your breath. Inhale, reach that arm back up in the air. Hand comes down onto the ground. And let's lift to dog pose. Feel that extension and lengthen your body. As you move and a little bit, maybe you're pedaling your feet. Let's see if we can stretch open the backs of the knees now a little bit. Stretch your calves, all those places that you're kind of being mindful to not hyperextend. Let the backs of your knees open. And then feel this energy travel all the way to your pelvis. Maybe your hips are coming offline a little bit. And then steady yourself in your dog pose. See what it feels like to push off the ground and feel that extension and length in your body. Relax your skull, let it dangle a little bit. Notice where the weight of your hands wants to be. See if you can root more into the index finger mounds if you get a little light there. And then when you're ready, walk your feet forward, come to Uttanasana, and find a forward fold. Now, as we start to, come into more standing postures, let's see if we can keep that ease that the supine postures gave us alive and well. Inhale for a halfway lift, feeling that reach of your spine. All right, so now imagine when we were on our back, so put your hands on blocks if they're not already there. And I would even recommend high blocks, even if you typically go lower. Let your femur bones lift into your hips and draw back. Feel the groundedness of the four corners of your feet. Feel the deep reach of your spine. Just notice, where's your weight wanting to go in your feet? Can you ground four corners? Can you unlock your knees? So try not to hyperextend them back. Just a slight unlocking, and then tip the pelvis. Tailbone and your sit bones lift high. Let the front of your pelvis spill forward. Find your breath. And then exhale and relax that. Bend your knees. Let your spine open up now. So now the upper aspects of that back line, let lengthen. Maybe even bring your hands to the base of your skull and draw your chin toward your chest as you just have a slight tug down toward the ground with your hand. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and release. Bend your knees, climbing all the way up. Coming up to stand. Big breath. Open up now. Let's go the other way. We've done a lot of, opening up the back line. So let's open up the front line a little bit. Reach back. Feel that extension. Stretch your hands as far up as they can go. And then come to a cactus in your arms. So your elbows are bent, and maybe even take your arms back a little past your shoulder line. Hug the shoulder blades toward each other. Feel that back body engage. And then exhale and rounded forearms come to touch. Inhale, up you go to the sky, and then a big swan dive forward, folding deeply. A halfway lift, extending here. How's your breath? Exhale and bend and fold. Let there come into a halfway lift again. You can bring your hands onto the box. Let there be a little bit of an internal rotation of your femur bones here. Feel that extension and length, and exhale and melt again. Back to dog pose. Hands on the ground. Step back. As you come into a dog pose, see what it feels like to open up your legs a little bit wider. Take them into a slight internal rotation. So toes in, heels out just a little bit. And don't let that just happen from the knee down to the feet. Let that internal rotation happen at your femur bones. Open up your spine, lift your ribs toward your pelvis, root into your index finger mounds. And then when you're ready, put your feet together, or not together, but hip width apart, and come forward into a plank. Find your breath. Turn your navel to the right, face the ground with your chest and face. Back to center, over to the other side. Just letting that twist enter into your body. Back to center one more time. How's your breathing? Back to center, over to the left. Back to center. Let's lower ourselves down to the ground. Roll the shoulders if that feels good to your body. And come up to a cobra pose. A big open heart, shoulder blades down, elbows are bent. Exhale, release. Choose another back bend. What's your favorite? Do you like arms wide? Do you like Sphinx pose? Do you want to repeat a cobra pose? Just feel that front body open. Exhale and lower back down. Come up onto all fours. Wag your tail a fair amount.
Feel free to wiggle your spine out. From here, bird dog. Take your left leg straight back behind you. Pulse a couple times so you feel the activity in that back line. And then take your right arm out in front of you and feel the whole back body from your fingers to your heel. Hold this pose. Hug in toward the navel toward the spine and the front body. So you're feeling that deep connection in the front too. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, cross underneath you, elbow and knee touch. Inhale, reaching out. And if they don't touch, that's fine. If they go past, that's fine. Just go where you go. Let's do 3. Breathing as you go. Last one. And then take that hand and knee down onto the ground. Sway your body, get your grounding, maybe root into one side, root into the other, and then we'll switch sides when you're ready. Now our right leg is going to come up in the air and our left arm out in front of us. Find that back line, fingers to heel. Find the front line, hug in your ribs, your navel. Find your breath, press your shin into the ground to help you. Deep breath in. As you exhale, hugging underneath. Inhale, bringing it out. Exhale, drawing in. One more time. And put your hand and your knee down onto the ground. Come back onto your heels. Give your hands a little bit of a shake. Let your thighs open a little bit by sitting back onto your heels. Inhale, reaching up onto your shins, arms to the sky. Exhale, child's pose. Stretch your arms out in front. Full breaths. Let's come hands on blocks if you want to a lunge, right foot in front. All right, so open up that hip flexor of that back leg here. You can lift your foot up and knee off the ground whenever you're ready. And let's bend and straighten through the front leg. Moving with the breath. All right, next time you straighten your legs, bring your hands up a little higher on tall blocks. Be mindful because these are a little wobbly. And let's lift our toes off the ground. Reach your hip back, lengthen through your spine. If this is too much, you can do this posture holding on to something higher, like a piece of furniture. All right, so that you have enough capacity to keep your spine long and your toes lifted. Find your breath. Then come down into a lunge, press your foot into the earth. Inhale, rise up, crescent lunge. Reaching upward, feeling that open heart. And when you feel ready, we're gonna twist to the right. Drop your shoulders down, finding your breath, move inside your body. Now coming back. Upright. Exhale, hands down, half splits. Climb up, squaring your pelvis. Come up onto your toes, onto your right toes. Lift your right hip up, and now drop your left hip just a little bit. Engage your left leg. Start to slowly lower your right heel down without lowering the right hip. Feel that sense of balance. Now imagine when we did Supta Padangusthasana earlier, that your femur bone, your right femur bone, can draw back in the hip joint. Feeling into that length. Try not to sink onto the leg. Lift your torso, your pelvis off the femur bone. Find your breath. Exhale, one Jiva squat. Just tucking on in, letting your head bow. Pushing your legs straight. And then coming down. Left foot next to right foot, Uttanasana. A halfway lift, fold. Inhale, climb all the way back up to stand, reaching the arms to the sky. Touch your toes, exhale, chair pose. You can have your hands together. You can reach your arms up overhead. You can have your feet wider apart if you prefer. Finding breath. And then up onto your toes if you want. A little bit of balance. And then release down. Step your right foot back. Left foot is now in front. Start with your knee on the ground. Open up through the hip flexor of that leg. Just enjoy. And when you're ready, lift your knee off the ground, coming into a lunge. Let's find the movement here, bending and straightening the front knee. Pay attention to how your femur bone's settling. Your left femur bone is settling in the hip joint when you do these movements. So, a lot of times we get focused on where we're feeling strong sensation, like our hamstrings. So we kind of lose sight sometimes of the way we're settling in our hips. And come into a straight leg version. Again, grab a piece of furniture or a wall if the blocks are too low for you. Let's lift our left toes up off the ground. Right femur bone drops down in the hip joint, lengthen through your spine. Finding your breath. Over and over, finding your breath. Sometimes when we get caught looking around in our body, we forget about our breath for a moment. As you're ready, ground your foot. Inhale, rising up, crescent lunge. Okay, you can bring your arms up or out or anywhere you want. Find that stability in your body, ground through your legs. And then when you're ready, twist open here. Find that big full breaths. Root into your feet. Come back around, arms coming back up. Feel that extension, hands come down, half splits. Hop up onto your left foot and try not to sink your weight down onto the hip. Lift your pelvis off your femur bone. Try to float your pelvis over the femur bone. So there's lots of space in that hip joint. Draw your femur bone back away from your crown. Make sure you're not locking out your standing knee. Be active with your hips, your glutes, your leg in the air. Full breaths up onto your toes. Lift your hip high. Drop your heel while still reaching that hip up, up, up. Extending, lengthening. And then as you're ready, tuck in, Jiva squat. Relax your head down. Breathe here. On your next breath in, when it rises, climb back up, half splits. Put your foot down onto the ground. Touch your toes. One more time, a chair pose. Feel that extension. Breathing deeply, breathing fully. All right, bring your arms out to the sides. Let's just come up to stand for a moment. We'll come right back into a chair pose. From here, we're going to, and arms don't have to stay out. They can be here if you'd prefer, whatever's going to help you with balance. We're going to drop our energy into our right foot over your left. Find a drishti gaze. Breathe deeply. And then slowly straighten your leg. Lift your knee up. Find that extension. Lift your arms. Twist to the side. Open your chest. Let your thigh bone, your right thigh bone, move back without your knee locking. Inhale, come all the way back up with your arms. Take a deep breath. Reach your arms back behind you. Tip over toward Virabhadrasana 3. Finding your breathing. Heads of the arm bones reaching up and back. And then slowly tip back up and put your foot on the ground. And just notice your breathing. Pause here in Tadasana for a moment. Notice how hopefully your sense of concentration is just living here and now. So you can start this with your feet together or feet a little apart, however feels good. Chair pose. Put your arms wherever you know that your balance is going to be best supported. There's lots of choices. Okay. Find your breath. We're going to sink our weight into our left foot. Feel the engagement. Your glutes turning on, your hip, everything's turning on. Lift your knee or up a little bit. Your foot hovers off the floor. If you have a wobble in your left knee where it's kind of walk, 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 walk left and right, try doing this pose with your butt against a wall so they have just another point of contact to close the chain, so your knee might have a little more capacity. Slowly lifting up, reaching the arms, knee comes up in the air, feeling that extension, drawing your ribs in, twisting to the right. Arms out to the sides if that's comfy. Be active through your whole body. Try not to sink onto your hip. We're lifting off of our hip. Full breath, thigh bone back. Unlock your standing knee. Back to center. Hang in there. Arms can come down by your sides. Tip forward, Virabhadrasana 3. Don't worry if your balance gets a little lost. You can always restart again. Engage your core. Remember those bird dogs. Extend through your spine. Reach your hands. Finding breath. And then tipping back up. And place your foot down onto the ground. And just enjoy 2 points of contact. Breathing into Tadasana for a moment. Full breaths in. Full exhales away. Let's take just a little bit of a side detour. Thigh bones are, well, legs are wide. Thigh bones move back and come into Pasrita. You can put your hands on blocks. You can put your hands on the ground, anywhere in between. Thigh bones back, shin bones forward. Just check in with your sacrum, your pelvis, all that work of trying to keep our pelvis floating over our femur bones. Let everything rest now a little bit. The femur bones still are drawing way back in the hip joints. Turn back to the front of your mat for a dog pose. Take your legs hip width apart this time instead of super wide. Feel that sense of balance and symmetry and neutrality. Come forward into a plank, holding yourself steady. One more time, we're going to turn the navel to the right. Come back, turn the navel to the left. Come back. Put your knees on the ground if you need. Find the ground. Roll the shoulders. Inhale, cobra. Exhale and release. Come up onto all fours and let's slowly bring ourselves to our back. We're going back up for one more standing pose, but for a moment, we're going to come here. Okay. So take your hands out to the sides like a T. There's lots of ways to make this more challenging and less challenging, depending on the needs of your pelvis and your spine. I'll do the middle way, and then I'll kind of cue what you can do. So we're going to bring our knees up, and we're going to drop our knees over to each side. Now, typically, when we do this, we drop our knees over to our elbows and then bring them back up. And if you're doing the harder version, you would do this with your legs straight and bring your legs up. And if you're doing the gentler version, your feet are on the ground and you're dropping your knees over one side and on the other. But first, before we go deep into the posture, we're going to just do little movements. So keep your knees together, no matter what, whether your feet are up in the air, neutral, at the, close to your sit bones, or if they're on the ground, doesn't matter. We're going to just rock maybe 3 or 4 or 5 inches off to the left and let your navel turn toward the right. Like, see if you can let the side bodies, those obliques, kind of anchor your right side.
And then coming back to center. And going over 3, 4, 5 inches to the right. Navel moves toward the left. Feeling that anchoring of the ribs and all the transverse abdominis and obliques on that left side. Back to center. Now do this pass in this little tiny range with breath. Exhale over. Inhale back to center. Exhale over. Inhale back to center. And slowly, as you do a few passes of this, you can increase your range and bring your knees or your feet, whichever, whether you're doing the hard version, middle version, or easier version. We're just going slowly a little deeper into the pose. So ultimately, you might find yourself all the way down or not. And it doesn't matter. So don't let the goal be, I have to bring my knees to my elbows or my feet to my hands or my knees to the floor. Just be where you are, breathing and feeling that deep core ringing, lots of stability. Can you still draw your femur bones slightly back in the hip joints so they're not pushing up against the pelvis? How's your breath? See if you can get all the way to your upper ribs helping with this. It's not just what's happening in the deep core. All right, and then when you're ready, you can make sure you finish on the side you didn't start. Put your feet down onto the ground and just find neutral. Breathe deep. Bring your arms down at your sides. We're going to lift up into a bridge. Now, if you feel tender or tired, you can always put a block underneath you and just do a restorative bridge pose. If you have some energy, let's lift up into an active one. Roll onto the tops of your shoulders. The back of the neck is nice and neutral. Back of the head has a little teeny weight. Root into the four corners of your feet. Breathe deeply. Expand your belly, expand your ribs. See if you can hug all your muscles onto your sacrum. Imagine a block between your thighs. Lower your pelvis down to the ground. Roll over onto your side. Let's come up. You can move through a dog pose if you'd like. Maybe you just want to stand up. So however you want to transition to get yourself up to standing, that's great. When you're ready, make sure you have both your blocks available to you. Now we're coming up to stand, reaching your arms again, up overhead, feeling that sense of symmetry. You can bring your arms down next to your sides. Pause here for a moment. We'll step our right foot in front. Where our stance is shorter, we're coming into Parsvottanasana. So we don't want a big, long, lunging leg. Hands on hips, elbows back if you want. You can even take your hands onto your pelvis if that works for your shoulders and your body. Take a deep breath in. Let's open up across your chest. And then reach forward, long spine. So only go as far as you are self-supporting. Inner spiral your thighs. Lengthen your spine. Feel that your femur bones, both of them, can draw back in the joints. And activate your hamstring on that front leg. So it's lengthening, you're in a stretch, but you're also engaging the muscle fibers. So this is good. This is a unique way of sensing both stretch and strength in your muscles. Press into your feet, the grounding in of your right big toe. And then come back up. Release your hands, bring your foot forward, and come back. Same thing, if you want to bring your hands to your back, you can, or hands at your sides. Open up across your chest, feeling your breath. Notice when you do this, when you have a little teeny arch in your back,
what's happening to your pelvis? Is it, are you shrinking into your low back? Can you feel all that space? And then when you're ready, leaning forward from a long spine, you can bring your hands, keep them on your back, or you can have your hands on your hips. Inner spiral your thighs, ground the big toe. Root the left hip back while you inner spiral. Try to not sink down, but rise up. Come off your pelvis. Pause the breath. And then come back to center. Walk your back foot forward. So hopefully your back body, the back of your legs is turned on in a nice fashion. The last standing pose we'll do is revolved triangle pose. So squaring the hips, your feet can be wider than hip width apart if you want to have a broader base. We're still in that shorter distance, not a full lunge. Right hand on your hip. Now remember, you can stack blocks. You can have one block, whatever feels right to your body. Inhale, reach the left arm up. Feel that extension and reach forward. Have a moment to pause so you feel the legs turning on to support you, and then bring your hand down onto the block, whatever height you're choosing. Squaring the pelvis, reach that hip back, long spine. Inner spiral your thighs, root into the big toe. Extend and then twist. Notice if your right hip wants to push out to the side, keep hugging the right hip toward the midline. Shoulders away from the ears. Keep grounded in that big toe. So remember, you're in an inner spiral of that right leg. And then release your hand down. Two hands on the block. Back foot comes forward. Maybe a little bit of a forward bend feels good. Maybe you like to be in a half lift, whatever feels nice. And we'll step our right foot back. Take your left foot out to the left more if you need a broader base. We're in a shorter stance, not a big long lunge. Right hand up in the air, left hand on your hip. Extend and lengthen. Root into your feet. Feel your grounding. As you lean forward, pause in that Parsvottanasana. Feel the hamstring and the glutes turn on that front leg, and then lower down toward the block. And remember, you can stack the blocks. You can do whatever you need. Have your right hand on a block. Extend the spine. Keep the left hip hugging in toward the midline. A slight inner spiral of that front leg, actually both legs. Wide sit bones, long spine. When you're ready, twist open. Adjust. Usually when you twist, something's like, oh, I just need a little inch more there or a little inch more there. So make your adjustments, but try not to stick your hip out. Hug your left hip in toward the center line. Long spine. Use your obliques to twist you. Relax. Your hand down. Dog pose. Hands on ground. Wide legs, toes turned in. Feel the width of your sacrum. Breathe deeply in. Breathe deeply out. And then let's find child's pose. Such a beautiful posture. Just let your body rest here. Feel free to wag your tail a little bit if it feels good. Feel free to be still. Feel free to take a bolster underneath you. Feel free to be on the ground. Whatever feels right and good. Come onto your back, and you can stay in child's pose. If you're like, oh, this feels so good, then by all means stay. Now you have a choice, kind of put your feet on the ground and just figure out, oh, do I need a hip stretch? Reverse pigeon pose.
That would be, you know, a good one, I think. But perhaps you're like, nope, I need to just rest in neutral and let my pelvis relax here for a minute. Maybe you need a little bit of a block underneath your sacrum to help you find neutral in that sacroiliac joints. So, you know, just kind of sense which direction you want to go. Take your time. Everybody's a little different when it comes to a standing twists pose. You know, if your back is a little tweaky, sometimes those can be a little challenging. Always remembering that supine twists, the ones where you're lying on your back, are the safest for your body. But we, you know, we push the envelope a little bit with those core work twists on our back. And, you know, so if you need a little extra nurturing, take it. My go-to, if I weren't giving you choices, would be a reverse pigeon pose on each side, but everybody's different. So, you know, you do you. Just take the last minute of your class to just feel into all the ways in which you can nurture yourself before Shavasana. All right, now when you're ready for Shavasana, I would recommend some support underneath your knees. You can ignore me and lay flat, but if you want to put your blocks with a blanket on top of them underneath your knees, this can be a soothing way of doing Shavasana. You know, if you take the two blocks long ways, so make a little bolster. You don't have to do this. You do you. You might do child's pose over a bolster. You might lie on your side. You might be flat on your back. So however you want to transition, let your body deeply, deeply rest. As you settle, see if you can let your body deeply rest here, letting your head soften and your limbs surrender. Feeling the weight of your pelvis and your spine. Letting go through your jaw, feeding yourself some breath. Yeah, just let your body be more aware, your mind be more aware of your body. Feel into the breath. Slowly start to invite a little bit of movement. You can wiggle your toes or roll around in your ankles, roll around in your wrists, and open and close your fingers, whatever is the right way for you. Be a big stretch. Coming on to your side when you feel ready. Eventually finding your way up to a comfortable seat. As you find your seat, let's go ahead and bring our palms together. Just notice the gifts of your practice, how your mind is, how your breath is, how your body is. Let's offer our energy, anything we've gained, let's share. Send your care, your love, your support. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.